So hopefully, as I'm staring at that button, that's what I was waiting for. Sometimes you're waiting for certain lights to flash on, and eventually that'll let you know, indicate that we're going to get the show properly started. So just to reestablish, our hope that whenever this bitter winter cold weather does pass, but we sometimes are also reminded as we do need to get through this part of the winter that the danger still exists, and the unfortunate reality to that, the death toll from all this is still going up. We do know some recovery is still going on in certain communities. But again, the unfortunate update is this sort of confirmation from the Kentucky governor's office that now we know 22 people have lost their lives ultimately to all this. Governor Beshear delivering that update today in his weekly briefing. With that in mind, you could see just the scale of some of these streets, and this is closer to the metro, just indicating what we're all trying to navigate with our own cars. So in relating to this update of more folks lost, 6 additional weather-related deaths announced today. But these include an older woman, 79-year-old woman from Floyd County, a 77-year-old man from Grayson County, a nearly 16-year-old man from Hardin County. The governor saying that during the height of the storm, Team Kentucky, in its umbrella, was trying to make sure there was shelter for more than 900 Kentuckians in warming centers and also at Red Cross sites. At this point, to our knowledge, there are still 85 shelters across Kentucky still open to provide that last resort for staying warm, which is essential. And at the same time, troopers spread out across Kentucky and officers in different communities and counties have also done at least more than 1,900 wellness checks. So I'm going to take you back to that video of the road conditions there. It's been almost 2 weeks since the storm hit us in the metro. And we know that the snow team at a city level has done its pass through the snow routes. Those are the essential ones where we'll get all that traffic and those main arteries to get from point A to point B where we need to go. But over the course of the weekend, the days since, we know we've gotten your phone calls, your emails of just a lot of roads that are still covered in that snow and ice, prolonged freezing temperatures. Well, now these same reports have fallen on the inboxes of Metro Council members wondering if they should be doing more to get additional roads that attention, that treatment, that plowing to make life easier as those roads were designed to be. Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia-Francescini is telling us some of those Metro members want the roads to stop looking like ice rinks and move into something a little more comfortable.
It's been a cold and icy start to the year for many people living in Germantown.
A lot of the side roads, the back roads, especially like the alleys, haven't really been treated at all.
Katie Carey is the general manager at Full Stop Station. While her parking lot is cleared off, the same can't be said for many of the surrounding roads, which has meant less business and money coming in.
We do have a lot of walking customers, but if they aren't in the neighborhood, we're not seeing them as much. No one is going to be outside in that time. No one can travel safely, I guess is the best way.
And because traveling safely has become almost a luxury in some of these neighborhoods, members of Metro Council's Democratic Caucus say they're looking into investing more money into public works for next year's budget.
We cannot explain that to the constituent that we do not have the equipment needed to make your roads safe or to make your roads accessible.
Council members say those extra funds could go towards buying more plows or hiring additional snow team crew members. But not all council members are sold on the idea just yet, particularly because they say major winter storms followed by days of below freezing temperatures are not the norm in Louisville. Well, at least not yet.
Going forward, that equipment might sit in a parking lot and rust for the next 10 years because we didn't have these events going forward.
And that was the report from our Fernando Garcia-Francescini. And adding to the report, we know Metro Council has already actually approved $4.4 million for new vehicles, more of this new equipment for public works. And this was in the last budget. But some other interviews and sources we talked to today at the Wave Newsroom say that additional funding, in theory, they believe would bring a lot of relief for people in these most affected neighborhoods. And certainly, their frustration is palpable in that regard. So as we continue to discuss all these, cold temperatures, which we're not breaking from at least just yet, the storm tracking team going to let us know eventually when we'll have that slight warm up trend and what'll come as we get into the heart of February. An update for those of you, by the way, who've been following our troubleshooters, investigation, deep dive into what ultimately has been now generating some change into optometry approval and the licensing for these doctors that we have across Kentucky. So the state's optometry board, well, it's ordered all of their optometrists licensed through the waiver, and we'll bring that waiver up again, to stop doing any laser surgeries until they complete all their national exams. So that decision brought to you in the aftermath of our troubleshooter stories digging into this licensing scandal. In fact, we and the troubleshooters involved are saying that the board is also reversing itself on allowing for a Canadian test to be substituted as an equivalent. The national testing body is called the NBEO. They question how Kentucky actually licensed at least 21 optometrists May of last year. The letter saying that their testing records showed that these potential practitioners had not passed either one or more than one parts of this exam. Kentucky waived part 3 of the test, but now the Attorney General's office here in Kentucky said in October that move in itself was not legal. So some context for you looking ahead. So the board voting earlier today on Thursday, trying to clean up the mess. Optometrists licensed through, as I mentioned, this waiver have until the end of February of 2028 so they could pass all parts of the national exam that they either haven't passed or simply did not take. They could still use a Canadian substitute test for the first part, and there's 3 parts, but they can use that for part 1 of the national test. They can also take what's called the American Board of Optometry exam to substitute for part 3. I'd invite you to, follow our Mark Stevens reporting, and he explains this in detail so you can understand it's you've got to pass those 3 elements to be a practicing optometrist. But the board and the state also wants to get rid of substituting the Canadian exam, which it had only put in place just last summer. So it was a recent decision, and they're going back on that. That test will no longer be accepted next year.
I think that's a great path forward for these optometrists to show clinical competency and restore the faith in our Kentucky doctors.
Now, the board decisions still have to go through what's called a public comment process. And so far, the NBEO has not commented about what these votes imply, what the decision is, if they support them or not. But once the optometrists who receive these waivers provide proof that they did pass all the parts needed for their national test or any of the alternates that do actually qualify, that the board will allow them to do those laser eye procedures once again. And it's, of course, a serious thing for your healthcare if you're going to them for that kind of remedy for your vision. All right, we're coming up on 8:14 on tonight's live stream of Wave News Extra. Much more to discuss, including the latest from a courtroom out in southern Indiana. This is for the trial of one person, but this is the jury trial involving some pretty serious it's murder charges for the deadly Harvest Homecoming shooting back in 2024. So you're going to hear the latest from what we were able to witness in the courtroom. We don't have those cameras in there again, unfortunately, but just the testimony that was given, and we're able to document and share it with you on the other side of the break. So stay with us. You're watching Wave News Extra here in the Wave Now studio. We are back here in the Wave Now studio. Appreciate you joining us, whether that is through the Wave Now apps you have on your smart TV devices, joining us on wave3.com, or on our live stream, which you're always more than welcome to interact with. If you're joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X, Jose Sosaya, walking you through some of the stories. And this is where we'll have a little bit of a focus for this first upcoming part. It's for you folks up in Indiana. And to that end, parents, we were hearing some testimony given then, they're supporting a bill that they say is going to strengthen Indiana's existing cell phone ban in schools, but they want to extend this into the entire school day and not just for certain pockets of that schedule. So we know a bill already passed out of the state Senate. So now it's up to lawmakers in the House to really look at what Senate Bill 78 entails. Right now, again, for students in Indiana, cell phone use that's already banned during class time. So for the specific period that you're in class. But this bill now wants to ban students from accessing their phones the entire school day, and what that would look like if you have to put them in those Faraday packs to block the signal, lock those with the magnet key, and make sure they don't have access to them at all until the school day is over. Well, that is something to be determined. But several parents testifying before these decision makers and the lawmakers, some did talk about why they are supporting the bill.
I know kids are posting TikToks and checking their phones during class. It's a complete distraction, even when that's all it is. But it is also perpetuating bullying and keeping kids from connecting one-on-one.
As both an educator and a parent, I've seen firsthand the damage unrestricted cell phone use causes and the powerful benefits that come from setting firm, consistent boundaries.
So right now, the bill is not specifying how schools would then enforce their total ban if it becomes law. So that would leave room to see if that would be left up to the individual districts to decide what that would mean. We know on the Kentucky side and in Jefferson County within some JCPS schools, certain decisions made from campus to campus of what that access very limited to cell phones would be, or if it's just a complete removal of having that as an option for you as a kid nearby. So something to offer that as context. And we've done those reports and those stories that you can always catch up to see what some of that looks like here on the wave3.com homepage. Staying in southern Indiana, we know this is the ongoing murder trial against one alleged shooter at that Harvest Homecoming back in 2024. Well, that officially started with more of this testimony. And this is the defense of 19-year-old Isaiah Page, accused of shooting and killing then teen, Bryce Gerlach. Now, our Logan Perone and our crews out there, they say they had an idea of what to expect after some small opening statements during the jury selection earlier this week. But at the same time, the defense team provided much more detail to what they're going to try to argue. And so let's take you to where this is playing out in the courtroom. So with the prosecutors, let's begin there. Floyd County Prosecutor Chris Lane says witness testimony and forensic evidence is going to, quote, show who pulled the trigger to kill Bryce. And he says that who is Isaiah Page. Chris Lane also says that the prosecution's case is going to reveal an ongoing conflict between several groups before the shooting even happened. They plan to prove that through witness testimony and forensic evidence that they have gathered from cell phones and other videos. Now, on the other side, Page's defense attorneys are arguing that there's simply not enough evidence for at least the murder conviction. They're going to point to a lack of what they describe as conclusive firearms and forensic evidence that would link any gun or any of the shells to Page himself, and that there are no photos or videos, they say, that show Page shooting Gerlach or Page shooting at all. Page's attorneys are also using the prosecution's description of chaos that October night, but then saying the evidence is going to show an imperfect investigation and that there have been some changing narratives. Co-defense attorney for Page, Dustin White, says the evidence going so far as to say will show, quote, no one knows who killed Bryce Gerlach. That is the co-defense making that statement to the jury earlier this afternoon. The prosecution started laying out its case today, and it started with the lead detective. And so where that goes, we know our Logan Perone will be there to walk us through that. And that's going to be, once business resumes tomorrow, and he'll be reporting live, taking those notes and sharing the information as it plays out from the morning part heading into the afternoon. So we'll look forward to hearing what he's able to document on Wave News 5 and 6 and beyond that, of course. In an update here, we also know in a case, LMPD is looking at that a man is charged. He's connected to a shooting, they say, that ended with 4 people needing to go to the hospital. Now, police say this was the shooting on Tuesday night when Johnson S. Rutledge was trying to sell a gun to a group of 3 people. The victims, according to police, say when they picked up Rutledge in their car, he asked them to drive to a location on Modern Way that's in the St. Dennis neighborhood close to Cane Run Road. Now, the reports, the police narrative documents are saying that when they got there, the groups, that the victims say Rutledge pulled out a gun and demanded that they give him some property. One of the victims tried to disarm him, and the group says there was a 5th person unknown that shot at the car with a rifle as it was driving away. Rutledge and one of the victims were both shot. Rutledge now being charged with 3 counts of robbery. His bond has been set at $100,000. He should be back in court next Friday. Police, worth noting to this point, they haven't identified the person who shot the rifle, which is separate from the other use of the firearm. And they are clarifying that they think this investigation is still very much active. Something to show you tonight, if you haven't heard the video and the clip and the audio with it already, it's the heart-wrenching stuff, tearful plea from today's show host and anchor Savannah Guthrie. This is the story getting a lot of attention nationwide. It's with her siblings sitting at her side. The search for their mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, continues with very little new information other than, of course, there was a press conference trying to answer those questions that the media would have had. So I want to play a little bit of what this clip posted to Instagram sounded like.
Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
And that was Savannah's sister right next to her there. Authorities say they're still looking into a ransom letter, but they just haven't determined how legitimate or to what degree it is legitimate to treat those threats and the ransom seriously. But police, the sheriff's deputies and FBI partners going so far as to say this afternoon that they do think Nancy Guthrie is still alive. This is a little bit more of the sound from what they had to say this afternoon.
We believe Nancy is still out there. We want her home. Our department, the sheriff's department, along with all of our partners at the FBI, have been working around the clock. And we just want her home and find a way to get to the bottom of all of this.
And that is the sheriff in the Pima County region there where Tucson is, Chris Nanos. And the FBI working alongside with the sheriff's deputies, they've offered a $50,000 reward. Officials previously said and described Guthrie's life as being at risk because she doesn't have her medication, or they don't know if she has her medication that she needs every day. They do believe, though, that someone took her forcefully from her home in the Tucson metro overnight on Saturday. Large law enforcement presence then, still coming through, checking whatever evidence they're able to find on the property. They were there back Wednesday and, in continued shifts. Reporters and cameras there saying that they did see some evidence bags being taken, just that investigators haven't said what they were looking for or what they found. And recently there was also an update of some blood droplets as described belonging to Nancy Guthrie. So as that story develops, we'll, of course, share what we're able to find out from those reporting partners out there in Arizona with you. That's on all the different wave platforms, but also, we'll make sure that we can share that with you at this time around nighttime as you're debriefing and wrapping things up for your busy work days. All right, we're going to have a couple more stories to share with you. These will be some reports from elsewhere in the Wave newsroom, our team going out there and sharing some stories. So we're going to take that quick break and be right back with you for tonight's Wave News Extra. Happy to be here and happy that you're joining us for tonight's Wave Now studio hit here for Wave News Extra. I'm just trying to find the right words to say. Thanks for joining us here on the live stream. It's going to be a very busy next half hour, so I hope you'll stick around with us, and I'll explain why it's going to be a special to share with you, especially for you football fans. It could be college, it could be pro, but just that Kentucky connection is going to be really cool to see when we talk about this next class that has been nominated to be allowed into the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we're going to begin with some big plans, big things in the works for Louisville's Muhammad Ali International Airport. Maybe the place you'd like to go to then go to somewhere warm. But we're talking about an investment of millions of dollars to do all this construction heading into the rest of 2026. Wave News reporter Alina Noakes takes a closer look from the tarmac on the scale of these capital investments.
2025 was a big year for Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport, and 2026 is expected to be record-breaking. A lot of that due to airlines like Delta that are working on increasing their capacity to hold customers on their planes, and SDF is responding. Airport leadership says almost half the flights zipping on and off their runways added more seats in 2025. More seats means more customers. Since 2020, the airport has had its 3 busiest years on record, so much so that TSA checkpoints have had to find ways to expand. The construction on this site, priced at $45 million, is a permanent solution to that problem. By spring 2027, SDF's checkpoint will be able to hold up to 10 TSA lines.
We've grown a lot since 2018. We want to take care of our customers. We want to continue to grow. We want to continue to invest in a facility for the airlines so they can add more capacity. And so it's really now focusing more not on what's broken, but what can we do to improve this facility.
SDF maintains North America's busiest cargo hub at UPS World Port, but they want to expand commercially. The next project on deck for that is what leadership is calling a game changer. $150 million is planned for a federal inspection services site, which hosts U.S. Customs for commercial airfare. SDF gave us a look at the first mock-ups Thursday. The FIS is step 1 to making SDF the nation's next hub for scheduled international flights. Between 2026 to 2028, SDF plans on spending $452 million on these capital investments. At Louisville, Alina Noakes, Wave News.
All right, thanks to Alina right there. A reminder, folks, that here we have everything at your fingertips on the wave3.com homepage. The best way to get everything that our digital team is updating in real time. Breaking stories, original reporting, troubleshooters investigation, the whole 9 yards there at your fingertips. And it's always also sent to push alerts when you download the free Wave News app. That is also great tool to have at your disposal, especially the conversation now with the winter weather in particular, not quite as warm as we'd like to, but certainly where the storm tracking team will also update things and let you know just how things are going to shake out short, mid, and long term. So what we're going to do now, as we're going to bring this into you, it's a special that is a celebration of the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame as they're inducting their class of 2026. It includes 5 former players and contributors with Bluegrass connections and the mark they left on the National Football League. 2 names some of you might be immediately more familiar with, at least I'll say it's for my case. It's former Card standout on the field, Bilal Powell, now current, and there's also now current Sayre High School coach and NFL quarterback Chad Pennington. 2 names of more recent NFL experience that you might recognize. We're going to send things now to our friends from Lexington, Brian Milam and Lee K. Howard, and they're going to walk us through the ceremony and some conversations with some of the new inductees. So here they are.
From WKYT, this is the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame Class of 2026.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame has their gold jackets. The Masters Golf Tournament has their green jackets.
And the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame has its royal purple jacket. They signify Kentucky football royalty.
Welcome, everybody. I am Brian Milam.
And I am Lee K. Howard, and we are about to learn the 5 new names to be added to the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame.
One thing I love about this, Kentucky is the only state with its own Pro Football Hall of Fame. Each inductee receives the coveted Hall of Fame ring, bronze plaque, in addition to that purple jacket.
Now, here is the criteria for the elite group. Each person had to be either born in Kentucky or been a resident of Kentucky for more than 5 years. Then they must have played or served pro football for a minimum of 5 years in the National Football League.
By the way, 115 inductees include one woman, Phyllis George Brown, the first female sportscaster for the NFL. All are committed to the group's mission of honoring Kentucky's football legends to support Kentucky's children and young people. So let's begin with Kay Collier McLaughlin, the chair of the board of the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame.
The board of the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame not only honors our football legends, it promotes the great game of football for the youth of the Commonwealth. We celebrate football's discipline, its teamwork and inclusivity, and perseverance, which teach skills for the game of life. We couldn't do this work without our sponsors, Community Trust Bank, Double Quick, Blue Million, Minifield Enterprises, and WKYT TV. One of the most important ways we live out our mission is supporting Kentucky's children and young people. We give to our beneficiary, the Foster Care Council. The Foster Care Council provides mentorship, free academic support, enrichment, and clothing for this vulnerable population. Now, please join me in welcoming Rob Bromley, our MC and legendary Kentucky sportscaster.
Well, okay, once again, it is an honor for me to introduce the newest members of the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame, who will be inducted this summer, all with Kentucky ties. And we begin with our 2026 honorees, 2 to be inducted posthumously. Mark Pike, a standout at Dixie Heights High School in Edgewood. Mark Pike played college football at Georgia Tech before being selected by the Bills in the 7th round of the 1986 draft. Over 12 seasons in Buffalo, he played 193 games for the Bills and was one of the NFL's all-time premier special teams performers. Pike was a key member of the Buffalo teams that reached 4 consecutive Super Bowls from 1991 to 1994. He remains the franchise's all-time leader in special teams tackles, 255, and ranks 2nd in NFL history in that category. Mark Pike passed away in 2021. Congratulations. Also to be inducted posthumously this summer, Ermel Allen. Ermel was a rare and talented multi-sport standout at the University of Kentucky, lettering in football, basketball, golf, and track before serving 4 years in the Army during World War II. Drafted in 1947 by the Chicago Cardinals, Allen chose to play for Paul Brown's Cleveland Browns in the AAFC, earning a championship in his lone professional season. He transitioned into coaching at the University of Kentucky, where he served as offensive and defensive coordinators under Paul Bear Bryant and Blanton Collier from 1946 to 1961. In 1962, Allen joined the coaching staff of Tom Landry's Dallas Cowboys, ultimately leading the Cowboys in research and development scouting 2 Super Bowl winning teams, 6 and 13. Ermel Allen passed away in 1988. We congratulate Ermel Allen. The Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame is also proud to enshrine this summer Jerry Blanton. Out of Toledo, Ohio, Blanton started as a linebacker for Frank Kersey on some of his best teams back in the 1970s. He was the first freshman ever to become a starter at UK. Drafted in 1978 in the 11th round by Buffalo, he was the last player the Bills cut that summer, but he quickly hooked up with Kansas City and put together a 7-year NFL career with the Chiefs. Jerry made a name for himself, first on special teams, then became a starting linebacker in 1980 and led the Chiefs with 138 tackles in 1983. After retiring, Blanton became a criminal investigator with the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office and served as Deputy Commissioner of the Kentucky State Parks. Congratulations, Jerry Blanton. Our next inductee is Bilal Powell. Bilal Powell came out of Lakeland, Florida to play for the Louisville Cardinals. His senior year, he was all Big East and a Phil Steele All-American. The New York Jets made him a fourth-round draft choice in 2011, and he went on to play his entire NFL career with the Jets. 9 seasons, one of the top running backs in Jets history. He ran for almost 3,700 yards and caught passes for 1,600 more. He lost only 3 fumbles over the course of 9 seasons. He ranks 8th all time on the Jets rushing list. Congratulations to Bilal Powell. And the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame also proud to honor Chad Pennington, who emerged as one of college football's top quarterbacks at Marshall back in the late 1990s. Selected in the first round of the 2000 draft, Pennington overcame multiple injuries to become a highly respected passer. Chad earned NFL Comeback Player of the Year honors twice, 2006 and 2008, leading the Jets to the AFC East title in 2002 and guiding the Miami Dolphins to a division championship in 2008. Over his 11-year career, Pennington threw for more than 19,000 yards and was widely regarded as one of the game's smartest quarterbacks. Pennington is currently coaching Sayre School in Lexington, where he guided the Spartans to an undefeated season and the program's first ever Kentucky 1A state championships. Congratulations to Chad Pennington and to all of our 2026 inductees. And thank you for joining us for this exciting beginning of the 2026 Hall of Fame year. This is your invitation to attend the annual Purple Jacket Dinner. It'll be June 26th, Friday night at the Hilton in downtown Lexington. Tickets will be available to purchase soon on our website, kyprofootballhof.org, as we honor Kentucky's football royalty and support the Foster Care Council.
Well, there you have the 2026 induction class. Jerry Blant, let's start with him. Again, as Rob mentioned, the first true freshman to start at Kentucky. And when you think back, for years and decades, freshmen were ineligible freshman year, and to come in and stay for 4 years.
Now you see that happening at programs across the country, including Kentucky, but for him to kind of be a trailblazer in that kind of thing is a pretty neat deal. And Jerry has a son, Kendall, who's been on 2 Super Bowl winning teams. So the legacy lives on with him and his family as well. All right, let's also talk about Mark Pike. He was, in many ways, kind of that unsung hero of those Buffalo Bills teams in the 90s. Versatility on special teams, and he was a big guy, right? 6'4", 260 pounds. Back then, that's not what a special teams player looked like. In many ways, Mark Pike kind of redefined what we think of as a special teams player in the NFL.
And I think for the Bills, Steve Tasker is the first name that comes to mind for special teams, tracking down Leon Lett in the Super Bowl. But he's a smaller guy, faster guy at Pike. He just got down the field and did what he did. We lost him too soon. A pioneer in film study, game planning, the quiet architect behind the Dallas Cowboys' success. One of my favorite people in this state's history, Irma Allen.
Irma Allen. I mean, we were just talking about a while ago some of the coaching greats that he was around, whether coaching for, playing. I mean, when you think about Tom Landry, Blanton Collier, Bear Bryant, I mean, it's unbelievable the people that he was around. And this was before there was a lot of things with film study and game planning and that kind of thing. And Irma Allen brought that to the game.
And played basketball for Adolph Rupp. And the Cowboys were the first team in the 70s to institute the computer programs. Let's dissect this. Tex Schramm made sure that this was done, and Landry certainly wanted to see it. So that means he was in the film rooms with the Doomsday Defense. That means he was in the film room with Roger Staubach, with Calvin Hill, with Tony Dorsett, you name it, and he was there.
Yeah, an integral part of the Dallas Cowboys organization that you maybe hadn't heard his name as much as certainly like a Tom Landry. And then how about Chad Pennington?
Heard of him.
Heard of him. And he's around in this and he's around in this town now. Extremely accurate quarterback. I always thinking we'll get a chance to talk to Chad here in a little bit. It's always that kind of what if, because he had to battle some of those injuries. And he was able to do so much in the NFL with the Jets and then the Dolphins later. But an extremely, really, really good quarterback.
Attrition and resiliency. To win a comeback player of the year once, amazing. To do it twice in such a short window, that shows what kind of competitor Chad Pennington is and was and is as head coach at Sayre.
I was going to say, not all former professional athletes are able to transition that into being a coach.
Yeah.
He's done it pretty well. And finally, let's talk about Bilal Powell, because you think about a player getting to spend his entire NFL career with one organization and having the impact that he had on the New York Jets. And he was kind of the unsung hero in a lot of ways for that offense.
Yeah, when you look at him, he was very good at Louisville and then gets to the Jets. And like so many great players, sometimes they have to start on special teams. And that's kind of been a theme with Mark Pike. He had to start on special teams and stayed there. He was so good. But he transitioned into one of the top running backs in the league. And his 75-yard touchdown run against the Jaguars is the epitome of you play until you hear the whistle. He's the only one that kept running, and he had the football.
All right, we are going to get a chance to talk to some of those inductees in just a moment. But when we come back, we'll talk with some of today's new Hall of Famers and get their reaction to this big news today.
That is coming up as WKYT Sports presents the 2026 Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame announcement.
And welcome back. The 2026 Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame will add 5 new members later this year at the formal induction.
And let's take a moment to get to know our newest inductees by speaking to a few of them directly. And we will begin with Toledo native Jerry Blanton, started at linebacker at Kentucky under Fran Kersey, the 1970s. And as we mentioned earlier, the first freshman ever to start for the Wildcats, drafted by Buffalo in 1978, cut and then found his home with Kansas City, where he spent 7 seasons with the Chiefs. Hello, sir. How are you today? And congratulations.
I'm doing fine, and thank you very much.
You say Kansas City Chiefs, and a guy, again, who comes to Kentucky. You start as a freshman, which is amazing because that was one of the early years freshmen could do so. And then you transitioned that into a highly successful career.
Thank you very much.
What did that mean to you during those years and all the hard work you had to put in? What was that like to make it in the NFL, first of all, and then to be able to stick with the Chiefs all those years?
I mean, it's like a dream come true. I think every little kid that plays any sports, and especially plays football, that's the ultimate goal, is to play in an NFL. So that was like a dream come true. I couldn't have wrote a better opening to my career.
You know, one person in particular, I assume that had a big impact on you was Art Still. You got to play with him at Kentucky, and then you get to play with him with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think some of the irony is you are drafted by Buffalo, but then go to the Chiefs. He's drafted by the Chiefs, then finishes his career with Buffalo.
Yeah, we kind of wrote that ending. Now, me and Art was roommates all the way through college. I think we took every class together, so we was like brothers all the way through college. And when I got cut from Buffalo, he reached out to me and asked me where I was at, and I told him I was up in Canada, which I don't know how I got up there, but I ended up in Canada. Then Chuck Knox wanted me to come back to Buffalo next year because they was going to have more linebackers. But in talking to Art, I said, I feel comfortable going to a person that I played with all through my college career, and I feel comfortable in telling me that that was the place for me to go.
And Mr. Blanton, what has it been like? You had the opportunity to watch your son play in the league as well. What has that been like as a father of an NFL player?
I mean, like I said, if I had to write my own book, I probably wouldn't have wrote it any better than what it played out. The funny thing, I told my son, it said, Dad played 7 years and never made it to a playoff. You played 5 years and you got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Where does this last thing, and we will let you go and then meet up with you again at the Hall of Fame induction. When you look back at this book that you would write if you could, where does this rank in the hierarchy of your accomplishments throughout your career?
I really don't have a level for anything I achieve. I trust and believe in God. So my life has been good. I really don't say because I played football. I just think more of the people that I met in Kentucky, all the people that I met in Kansas City, it's just tremendous. That support has been tremendously. So I don't really rank myself with what I did in sports. It's just the people I met and the camaraderie and the people of Kentucky that embraced me.
Well, Jerry Blanton, congratulations on being a 2026 Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Famer, and we will see you at the big banquet in a couple of months.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That is Jerry Blanton. We move on now to our next inductee, Chad Pennington. He emerged as one of the college football's elite quarterbacks at Marshall University in the late 1990s before being selected in the first round of that 2000 NFL draft. And we talked about this earlier, but despite those recurring injuries throughout his career, he became a respected passer known for his football intelligence. Over 11 seasons, more than 19,000 passing yards, widely regarded as one of the game's smartest quarterbacks.
And now coaching at Sayre School in Lexington, Pennington, establishing himself as a successful leader off the field, guiding the Spartans to an undefeated season in the program's first ever Kentucky 1A state championship. And not only did you do that, you have literally built the program from the ground up.
Well, it's been really fun to do that. I grew up on a Friday night bus. My dad was a high school football coach for 30 years. And so that was a passion of mine. I saw the impact that he was able to have on high school young men. And so to be able to start that program at Sayre School, to receive the support from the administration, faculty, and school community, and to be able to do that together, it's been really, really fun.
Yeah, and Chad, you had the opportunity to coach your sons. What's that like? Because obviously you were so in tune to your career when you were playing, but now to pour into them, that's got to be a great feeling.
Well, that's been really special because my dad and I decided not to do that. And so we made a decision to do that. And I would not change that for the world, to be able to be a part of their development as well as their friends' development, using the game of football as the platform to do that. It has been so much fun. My wife and I really enjoyed it. We're the team dad, team mom, or this or that. And it's been really fun to partner with our other families as we're working with our young men.
Born in East Tennessee, you play in West Virginia and have found a home in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And now a Pro Football Hall of Famer in the state of Kentucky. What's that mean?
It means a lot. And I'll tell you why, is because it's a conglomeration and a collaboration of so many people that have poured into me. whether it be in high school, college, or in the professional ranks, that poured into me and given me a piece of them. And I've been able to use that into trying to develop myself, raise my family, and also make an impact through the game of football. So it means a ton, and it's going to be something that we're going to celebrate in June. Also, my birthday, June 26th, I turned 50.
We planned it that way.
Yeah, exactly. You planned it that way. And so that's going to be a lot of fun and just a huge celebration of everyone who's been involved in my life in the game of football.
I tell you what, for your 50th birthday, we'll give you a purple jacket. How about that?
That sounds really good.
All right. That is Chad Pennington. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to move on now to our third and final inductee that will be joining us today. Brian, go ahead.
Bilal Powell arrived at Louisville, standout career at Lakeland, Florida, and then earned all Big East honors. His senior year, named a Phil Steele All-American, a heck of a running back for the Cardinals, and then transitioned that to the New York Jets, selected in the 4th round of the 2011 draft, a 9-season tenure, which would define his entire professional career.
Yeah, and Powell ranks 8th all-time on the Jets rushing list, a testament to just his consistency and his durability as the cornerstone piece of that franchise. And he joins us now via Zoom. Congratulations on your selection to the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame.
How you doing, guys? Thank you so much.
To be in this select class, this is a unique fraternity that has gone back for decades. What's that mean? A guy from Florida who, I don't know what you knew about Kentucky when you got to Louisville, but it became a home for you.
Well, I will say I didn't know much about Kentucky growing up in Florida. I always dreamed about going to a school somewhere in Florida, somewhere warm. But, my journey had taken me here to the University of Louisville. And honestly, it's an honor to be a part of such a tremendous fraternity of guys and legends that played the sport, coached the sport here in the state of Kentucky.
You had such a great career there at Louisville and then was able to make your imprint with the New York Jets. What was it like to spend your entire pro career with one organization, and how important was that for you?
It was very important. And one of the things that I tried to pretty much challenge myself to do was spend my entire career in one organization. And, I had a brief conversation with a Hall of Famer by the name of Curtis Martin. And I remember seeing him at an event, and he said to play as many years as I can, try to get 10 years. And at that time, 10 years felt a long way away, being that I was in year 3 at the time. But, spending my entire career in New York City, it was fun. And, those fans are very passionate. And once they love you, they love you. And that's a forever home for us here in Kentucky and my family.
How important was it for you to retire as a Jet? The career comes to a close. There's no takers, but you said, hey, sign me for a day so I can retire as a Jet.
It meant a lot to me. And for the Jets to be able to respect me enough to do that, it definitely meant a lot. The Johnson family, the organization, are a big piece of my heart and my family, and a big piece of my life. And to retire there as a New York Jet, growing up, you dream about that as a kid. You dream about that ceremony for your exit on your way out. And I had an opportunity to play in Los Angeles with the Chargers and decided to hang it up. And when I sat around long enough, I just said, hey, look, let's make this a thing. And I want to be a Jet forever. Made one phone call, and they made it happen. And they made that day feel special for my family and I.
And one final question, because this class kind of has a Jets theme here. We've got Chad Pennington with us here in studio. You and Chad being in the same class, representing not only the state of Kentucky, also the New York Jets.
That's awesome. And Chad and I we've become a little closer, being that we sit on the NFL Youth Advisory Committee, and we share that New York Jets, experience as players, and also being coaches here in the state of Kentucky. So, just to see Chad being in the same class as me, man, it means a lot. And, I love the game of football for this very reason, that you have a small fraternity of brothers and brotherhood that lasts forever.
Well, Bilal Powell, congratulations on being an inductee into the 2026 class of the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we will see you later in the summer.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. So the field is set, so to speak,
yes,
for later this year. And you have Louisville, Kentucky, Marshall, You have Kentucky and Georgia Tech collegiately, but everybody has their roots somewhere in Kentucky.
And that's what we spoke about at the beginning of this program here, is Kentucky being the only state with its own Pro Football Hall of Fame. And so many coaches, administrators, of course, players have made an impact in different ways, and some continue to make an impact in the state, like Chad Pennington, who coaches here in the city of Lexington. But it's so fun to catch up with these guys and see what they did in their career and then what they've continued to do now that their career is over.
Yeah, exactly. And so 5 new inductees will go in. Reminder, the Purple Jacket Dinner will be June 26th. That's where all of the inductees and award winners will be honored. For more information, go to kyprofootballhof.org. And we've got Jets and Dolphins and Bills and Chiefs and Browns and Cowboys. We've just got all kinds of
We're all going to get together. They're going to wear their purple jackets, and we're going to celebrate Chad Pennington's 50th birthday.
Can't wait.
Same time.
That'll be a lot of fun.
All right. From all of us here at WKYT, I'm Lee K. Howard with Brian Milam. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you once again in June.